Alrighty, so this is where we left off in the last lesson. We added our custom font, we added our image, and our first label up here. So this is our finished app here on the left. So I'm thinking in this video, in this lesson, let's try and get this stack view, this main stack view here in the middle done, and possibly the button down here as well, all right? So let's get to it. Now we are going to be working with stack views quite a bit in this section. So by the end of this, you should become an expert. All right, so what we have here is a number of stack views that are nested within a larger stack view, which is nested inside a view, all right? So we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of 2 labels. All right, so let's get those in here. The iPhone 10 simulator is hard to grab and move. There we go. All right, so opening up our object library, I'm going to drag in 2 labels. So I'm going to hold Option and let go, and that should keep our object library open. Then I'm going to drag in the second one and close this. All right, let's go ahead and make these a little bit more visible. I'm going to select both of them, change the color to white. Then I'm going to change the font to custom and select the family, and we are going to scroll down to our Star Jedi label or font, and that's what we want. We're going to leave it at size 17 and say done. All right, and then our first one is going to say name and colon. And for the second one, we'll put something like Luke Skywalker. There we go. And let's go ahead and put those over there. Now we are going to select both of these and put this inside of a stack view. All right, so I'm going to click on the embed in and stack view. There we go. So that's going to be put into a horizontal stack view. Now I'm going to, we can copy these by holding Option and dragging. So there's 1 and 2. We need 6 total. So I'm going to drag a few more times, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and each time I am holding Option and dragging, all right? So the second one here, this is going to be height, and I'm not sure why, but it's not working if I double click on the label to change the text. Oh, there it goes that time. All right, so after height we have mass, and then we have hair color. So this is just going to be hair, colon, and then the birth year. Oh, don't forget the colon at the end. There we go. And then for the last one, this is going to be the gender as provided by the API. And that looks pretty good. All right, so now with the stack view, if you recall, we have the type of distribution, and right now it's on fill, okay? Now, when we embed these stack views inside of a larger stack view, and then we add some constraints, what we want to have happen is we want each of the indicator labels to stay the same size, and we want this label to expand as needed. So what we're going to do is we're going to assign a width to each of these first labels. We're going to constrain it to the width that it is currently. So I'm going to select each one and set the width and add that constraint. And I'm going to do that for each of these labels here. Hair, mass, height, and name. All right, so we have set and constrained the width for each of these first labels so that the second label can expand horizontally as needed. All right, so now I'm going to select each of these stack views over here in our document outline and embed these in a stack view here. All right, very good. So the stack view is currently set to alignment center. So let's go ahead and change that to leading, and that looks pretty good. The spacing is a little high, so let's go ahead and change that to maybe 10. That looks good. And now in our finished app, you see we have this black background, slightly transparent background. So you might think, let me see if I can move this, get this dragged out of here. Good grief. There we go. So you might think that we can just select our stack view and change the background color, right? Well, you see that that doesn't actually do anything. No matter what color I pick, it doesn't change. And that's because this background view actually isn't being rendered. So the view for a stack view is not rendered. So what we're gonna do is we are going to embed our stack view inside of a view. Okay, so I'm gonna select that right there. And there we go. So now we have our whole stack view embedded in a regular UI view. Now, one thing that I want to show you before we go any further is a very useful tool when you're working with stack views. Sometimes you accidentally embed something in another view and you want to unembed it, all right? So say we accidentally embedded this stack view in this view and you're like, oh man, how do I do this? Do I just drag it out or what do I do? Sometimes that can be a little bit messy. So what you can do is select the top one that you want to unembed from, so the view, and then down here in our embed tool, we have the option to unembed. So if you just click on that, then it just pops it out. All right, so that's pretty useful. I'm going to re-embed that by putting it into a view again. And there we go. And you see that it automatically adds the view with some margin inset. So that's pretty nice. And if you don't want that, then you would select this one, view without inset, okay? All right, so now we have our view and we can give it a background color. So I'm gonna go to custom here and I'm going to select black with an opacity of 60%. That looks pretty good. All right, very good. So now we have our view with the main stack view inside it and then the children subviews after that. And let's go ahead and change some of these to be more realistic numbers. So we have something like 228, mass is in, and I think these are in metric units. So we'll just say brown, this is something like 19 BBY or something. And then gender for Luke is male. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we have our main stack view here, and let's go ahead and constrain it inside of its parent view here. So I'm gonna select and can add constraints. We're gonna say 20 from the left, top, right, and bottom, and say add for constraints. And then we need to constrain our top level view here. So I'm going to say 20 from the left, 20 from the right, fix the height, and then center it vertically in container. And that should do it. Now everything is fully constrained, just like we want it. All right, let's go ahead and run this and test it out. I'm gonna run it on an iPhone 10 here. All right, and that's looking pretty good. From our finished app, we know that we have some rounded corners on this view right here. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to open up our view controller in our assistant editor by holding Option and clicking on Select Person VC. Then I'm going to select that view from our document outline, Control and drag over to create an IB outlet, and we're going to name this Stack BG. Okay, I'm going to say Connect. And then here in View Did Load, I'm going to delete this and I'm going to say Stack BG .layer.corner radius is equal to 10. And let's go ahead and run that again and check that out. All right, very nice. All right, so this is looking pretty good. We'll go ahead and end this lesson here. In the next one, we'll add our button as well as make some custom views for these backgrounds, okay? So I'll see you then.